man, this is home. Anytime I see those 5 letters or see a Husky, like, I can't see myself anywhere else.
Well, there's no place like home, and for Solo Balls, that home is Storrs, Connecticut. We'll hear from the UConn guard on his decision to stay at UConn and take a medical redshirt next season.
And Bills Mafia has a new made man as Skylar Bell finds his NFL home. We'll talk about what the draft and the days that have followed have meant for UConn players as their first pro off seasons begin.
And later, we're going to hear from one UConn golfer who spent some time away from the course. And I mean far away. I'll bring you to the fairway to hear from Caden Blanchette on his mission trip that he took to Kenya this past fall.
The 125th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select
Skylar Bell.
Skylar Bell.
Well, Bills Mafia gets its man as one of our Skylar Bell heads to Buffalo in the 4th round of the NFL Draft. The fans wanted to see the team add another weapon for Josh Allen. Well, now they've got a consensus All-American. Welcome into Connecticut game week, everyone. I'm Sean Humphrey.
And I'm Alexa Harley. Well, we've been used to seeing Skylar Bell hollow in the touchdowns in the Northeast. Now it's official. He's headed to his home state to play for a team that's trying to get over the hump and win its first Super Bowl.
Yeah, certainly a lot of frustration with the way the playoffs ended there.
Yeah.
Bell's draft headquarters was ready to celebrate after the Bills took him at pick 125 in the 4th round. His college teammate Cam Edwards posted the video you're seeing now to his Instagram story on draft night. Understandable hoopla, I'd say.
Yeah, hoopla's the right word. You know, all season we talked about the dynamic duo on the field for the Huskies, and you might be wondering where Bell's leader and partner in crime ended up. Well, look no further. QB Joe Fagnano signed with the Baltimore Ravens as an undrafted free agent. He was invited to rookie minicamp and then signed a 3-year deal almost immediately after that announcement about the going to the rookie camp. It's expected that he's going to compete with Heisman finalist Diego Pavia for the team's 3rd-string spot behind 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson and then backup QB Tyler Huntley. Okay, Sean, so draft night, it's in the rear view. We talked about it this past week. Bell possibly going anywhere between the 2nd and 4th round, but the consensus was that he was going to go on the 2nd day. So are you surprised overall that he kind of got drafted a little bit later than I think some of the mock plans had him going?
Yeah, maybe not surprised or shocked, but certainly maybe the opinionated parts of me are wondering why some of the guys went before him. But I'm interested to see what he does at the next level, especially with the rather crowded wide receiver room that just added DJ Moore in the offseason.
Yeah.
But Buffalo fans wanted a pass catcher, and they've got one.
I know that the consensus was Buffalo was always on the horizon, possibly for Bell to land there. The Patriots as well. I think a lot of people were expecting to hear the Pats call his name in the 2nd round. Obviously, that didn't happen. It's in the rear view. I think one of the more interesting things here is Fagnano in Baltimore competing with Pavia for QB3 in this mix. Because you got 2 guys, 2 completely different college routes. One guy was nominated for the Heisman. Fagnano, UConn fans wanted him nominated for the Heisman. He obviously didn't get that, but it's a very interesting position that those 2 QBs are in as well.
Yeah, and might I add, they're 2 of, well, Fagnano's one of 6 players who were invited to rookie minicamps. 3 of the UConn players ended up in Chiefs minicamp. So I don't know, maybe the rich are getting richer and they wanted to add Huskies to compete for Super Bowls again.
Yeah, football season will be here before you know it. Well, college can be a time of self-discovery for young adults as they navigate life away from home for the very first time. For UConn golfer Caden Blanchette, he was enjoying his 2024 freshman season out on the course, but he felt like something was missing. And Blanchette eventually connected with UConn's Athletes in Action chapter, which is an organization that empowers athletes to use their sport as a platform to make an impact on the world. And through working with the AIA, Blanchette traveled across the Atlantic to Kenya, where he shared his testimony and got to share the game of golf.
I wasn't playing my greatest golf, so I wasn't really traveling in the spring much my freshman year. I felt like there was some sort of void in my life because I grew up as a Christian, but I wasn't really practicing. I didn't really start raising money until mid-fall. I had one big event on Thanksgiving where I did a golf marathon and played 150-something holes, and I pretty much raised the entire money for the trip in that one day.
So after his triple-digit golf galore, Blanchette was ready to make the trek overseas to Kenya.
It was my first time in a different culture, so just being like immersed with people I didn't know, a culture I didn't know, a place I didn't know, it was very cool to see like how welcoming they were.
We've been sending teams to Kenya to help grow the game of golf in Kenya, to use golf as a platform for ministry, really since the early 2000s. COVID came and put a stop to all that, and so our team going over was the first team since 2019.
And Blanchette enjoyed every moment that he was immersed in the Kenyan culture, but perhaps his biggest takeaway was, of course, the food.
I had a lot of chicken pies. One thing about the culture is they stop 18 holes of golf. They'll stop after 9, and then they actually sit down for 20 minutes. They'll stop and eat and just keep on talking with you.
All in all, they spent around 2 weeks abroad. The 10-day mission gifted Blanchette with a fresh perspective, not just on golf, but on life.
I was texting one of them the other day. He had a question about golf and talking about the difference between being confident versus cocky. I'd say here in the States, when we're playing in tournaments, kids will often lash out, get very angry with their shots. The kids there were just having a blast. They were just happy to be there. It was pretty eye-opening, and I could take something from this. If they can enjoy and play, no matter what they're shooting, why can't we? It's a blessing just to be playing golf.
I mean, at UConn, we say it's the basketball capital of the world, and that's something that you think of when you think of Connecticut. So just showcasing that each and every night when we play here in Mohegan, whether that's in Hartford. But yeah, I just want to ball out for them.
Well, it'll be the sunset season for the WNBA in Connecticut, and coming up, you'll hear UConn great and Sun forward Aaliyah Edwards talk about what's been a whirlwind few months in women's hoops. And later, we'll chat with women's rowing head coach Jen Sanford, who will retire after 29 years. We'll hear from her about a lifetime with the sport and what she'll miss about coaching this group. That and more when Connecticut Game Week continues.
I'm Kevin Ferry. When it counts, you need a top dog on your side. That's Ferry Law, proud sponsor of Connecticut Game Week's Top Dog.
The past few months have felt like a lifetime in women's basketball, especially here in Connecticut. We've seen lengthy and at times tense negotiations for the WNBA CBA come to a close. A new agreement allowed players to sign the richest contracts in league history. But the Connecticut Sun will be on the move to Houston after this season, and UConn great Aaliyah Edwards will play her first and final full professional season in the Nutmeg State. I caught up with her this week. Here's part of our conversation.
Last time I saw you was the Huskies of Honor ceremony.
No way. That's tough.
How's it been since then, just these past couple of months, finishing the Unrivaled season, getting ready for the WNBA season, and now, you're moments away from the season itself starting?
Yeah, since the Huskies of Honor, I've been playing a lot of basketball. I finished up my Unrivaled season, which I had a great off-season down there in Miami. As well as I competed with my national team in Turkey at the FIBA World Cup qualifiers for about 2 weeks. And then, as you said, just gearing up for the season. This is going to be my first full season with the Connecticut Sun. And it's our last season here playing in the state, playing for the city. So it's a lot of gratefulness, blessings, as well as pride that's going to go into the season for me and for my teammates.
Is there, I know the two Hartford games I was particularly excited about, especially with now, two of your former teammates playing on the same team in Dallas and coming to Hartford. Huge game, massive for the growth of the sport as well. Is that something you think about heading into this season?
Yeah, when I saw my schedule, I thought wow, this is a great moment. It's gonna be a fun game, fun environment, fun atmosphere. Just because we have a lot of history playing in the XL Center, and then just bringing a full circle moment with me and my former teammates at UConn. It's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be a fun day to play basketball.
Is there anything about playing in Unrivaled that's kind of helped you preparation-wise, whether it's on offense, defense? Just anything it's added to your game?
Absolutely. I think offensively it really helped with my footwork. 3-on-3 is such a precise game style of basketball that you really have to make quick decisions, but as well as decisions under control, under pressure. So yeah, it really helped with my footwork, helped with my scoring ability, being able to add different things to my game, my perimeter presence as well, and then defensively just being able to be versatile, like 1 through 5 matchups.
So the past few months have been, a whirlwind for the sport as a whole, especially here. You've had CBA negotiations finish. You've got the new Supermax.
Ooh, I'm glad everything's settled.
No lockout. Everybody's playing,
Yes.
and now this is the sunset season here in Connecticut as well. And I remember you talked to the media in January about the possibility of the Sun moving to Houston.
Yeah.
So how have you managed just preparation-wise and getting ready to play the sport with all of these kind of competing storylines that have been happening?
How I've managed is just to keep, steady headspace. My mindset going into the season doesn't change. It's like every year, I want to go make sure that I'm growing, making sure that I'm making an impact for my teammates, and then just playing for myself, my family, and the fans. And that should never change, no matter what the circumstances is or what's thrown at us. At the end of the day, as players, a part of this league, we wanted to play basketball this summer, but making sure that we're getting the flowers and the money and the respect that we rightfully deserve. And now that we have both, we just gotta go out there and hoop. So I'm just excited to get the season underway with my teammates.
Well, this past week, we got to hear from some of the returning hardwood Huskies, including Solo Ball. So let me give you a little recon on what he's dealing with, right? So the junior guard is going to miss the 2026-2027 season as he recovers and heals following wrist surgery. We now know the diagnosis that he received was that he ruptured 2 ligaments in his left wrist. He had it wrapped and in a brace this past week when he spoke to media. And he told us that leaving UConn was never a thought. Storrs is home for this guy, and he says that the decision to sit out the next season was one that weighed heavy on him.
Man, making that decision was probably one of the toughest decisions I ever made. To be honest with you, I knew probably a week before it came out, because I had talked to the coach, staff, and everything like that. But I bawled my eyes out probably good 2-3 days. I got all my tears out. Right after it happened, I got some more tears out. It was just hurting, eating me alive. Just the fact that I couldn't put on the jersey that long and not suiting up for that long. But at the same time, I'm going to be in the same building with my brothers. I'm not going to change. I'm going to be the same dude. So that's the thing I do better. And I'm going to be back stronger than that for sure.
Now, in the press release following that announcement a few weeks ago, that Ball would miss the next season, Hurley also said that Solo Ball could return as one of the best point guards in the country. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But he won't suit up for the Huskies next year. Solo Ball says that he is going to do everything that he can in practice and on the baseline to support his guys next season.
Well, it's the end of an era at UConn as UConn women's rowing's head coach Jen Sanford prepares to retire after 29 years. We caught up with her and some of her rowers. The full story coming up when Connecticut Game Week returns right after this.
Connecticut Game Week Best in Show is sponsored by New Balance of South Windsor and Avon.
Perhaps it's easy to build a legacy when you're the first to do something. And UConn's Jen Sanford has been the first and only head coach in the school's women's rowing team's history. What might not be easy is making that legacy mean something beyond the athletic competition. But as Sanford's 29th and final season winds down, her team says she's done that and more.
I still remember the first time we won a race our first year.
So we'll take about 10 more on the paddle.
It was against Fairfield University, and it was like they had won the Olympics.
Jen Sanford has spent her entire life on the water.
Every stroke counts.
She comes from a family of rowers and spent her childhood living in the boathouse at Syracuse where her father coached. She's been in charge at UConn since 1997 when rowing became a varsity sport here. And despite being more comfortable on the water than most are on land, she wouldn't have believed you if you told her she'd become a head coach at just 25 years old.
I thought it was going to take a lot longer to become a head coach. So I just think it was like the right time, the right place. And then when I got to UConn, I thought, okay, I'll be here for 5 years and then I'll move on. And here I am, retiring after 29.
It's safe to say most of Sanford's rowers don't have her background, a lifetime of learning the sport at every level. No, some of them were swimmers and hockey players before the oars entered the picture during their high school years. But that means Sanford's attention to detail is exceptional, something junior Evelyn Arafeev has noticed more than once on the water.
When I first started, my outside hand would move a little bit too much, and she caught that, and I just wouldn't have even thought of that.
In rowing, technique is pivotal. A small error can affect the entire boat. But as much as they'll remember the work behind every stroke and the effort it's taken to improve little by little, Arafeev and teammate Taylor Jeffrey will remember how invested Sanford has been in their lives on and off the water.
You can tell that this team means everything to her, and having had that as a leader for the past 3 years has really meant a lot. Just knowing how much she cares about her athletes, her team. You don't find that in every coach. So it'll definitely be different next year, and we'll miss that a lot.
She's the reason why I show up to practice every day and get up at 5 a.m. every morning, just because I want to train as hard as I can for her, and because she is, she's what makes me love rowing, because of her inspiration. She puts a smile on our faces every day. It's awesome.
As the team prepares for her final races, having built these relationships is what Sanford will take with her when the season ends.
It's a very peaceful feeling, just knowing that maybe I did have a positive influence on people.
That's because making an impact that lasts long after her rowers leave the water for the last time is something she says her father instilled in her.
It's not a sport that, you're going to go pro in, so I think that's the most important thing to me, and I think that was the most important thing to him, was just using the sport to impact them in a way that they can go out into life and be successful.
And as much as she'll miss her team, it won't be easy to let go of the mornings on Coventry Lake where she's beaten the sun to work.
I won't miss the mornings that it's 28 degrees and sleeting and windy and cold, and I get off the water saying this is the coldest I've ever been in my life. But definitely miss the sunrises, miss the relationships with the team, and just being at races, having the experience to work with young people, it keeps you young. So I have to find something when I retire that will continue to make me feel young, so that I don't turn into an old lady too quick.
So super early morning on the water. That was my introduction to the sport. I didn't know much about rowing before last week. Thankfully, that was an introduction for me. Is there any uncommon or unusual, unorthodox sport that you covered and really enjoyed or enjoyed watching?
I would say the most unorthodox sport that I can think of that I've had the privilege to cover was a Olympic or Team USA qualifier for ping pong.
Ping pong?
A couple of years ago,
Okay.
yeah, and I had the video camera, and I thought this is a great opportunity to put the camera on the table and have the ball going over and over the net. So that's probably the most unconventional sport that I've gotten the privilege to cover in my career, yeah.
Yeah, you had Forrest Gump in the back of your mind, I'd imagine?
I don't think that's where my brain went immediately. I think my brain went to, getting the sound off the board and also asking athletes questions, because as somebody who's just played ping pong recreationally, what is the strategy? Is it not just ball and paddle? So that was very exciting and very interesting to learn more about just the sport being there as well.
Yeah, either ping pong or pickleball. All I can tell you is I will not be Olympic qualifying. I don't know if that's the way to say it. But what's coming up, Alexa?
Well, we got a lot coming up here on Connecticut Game Week. The Huskies sports calendar might be shrinking, but there's still plenty at stake. We're going to head to the Diamond, tell you what's ahead for the baseball and softball teams. Plenty more to come right after this. Sean, I know it's hard to believe, but we're on the home stretch right now of the Husky sports calendar. Some of the spring seasons have actually already wrapped up, which is kind of crazy, but a few teams are left and they have a lot to play for.
And we all know that April showers bring May flowers, but these teams hope by June we'll be calling them champions.
We're going to start with baseball. The Huskies host East Tennessee State for a 3-game series this weekend. And this is the first ever meeting between these two programs, so very exciting stuff there. The Huskies coming into this series with a 6-game winning streak. The 3-game slate wraps up on Sunday at Aaliyah Ballpark at 11 a.m. That's when first pitch is. Now, it's hard to believe as well, but the softball team closes out its regular season this weekend with a 3-game series at Georgetown. The Huskies clinched a berth in the Big East tournament with Sunday's 4-2 win over Creighton. It's the 6th straight year that UConn has made the tournament under head coach Laura Valentino. The Huskies are tied for the 2nd overall in the conference. This 3-game series will wrap up on Sunday at noon.
And MLS Next Pro's Connecticut United FC is back in action on Sunday, hosting New England Revolution 2. The game kicks off at 7 p.m. in stores. UConn alum Andre Swanston owns the team, while former Husky great Stefan Castle is a part owner. Swanston told us about the importance of having local ties as the team tries to gain traction in the state.
Look, I think having local ties is really important. You know, I went to boarding school in Connecticut. I went to UConn with my wife, with our head coach, with our other co-owner, Steph Castle. And so, you know, we care about the community. And I think really what we're trying to do by having matches at UConn, we're about to have a big 9-match homestand at Yale starting in a few weeks, is, you know, you've got to earn the fans in Connecticut. You don't just show up and expect people to support you. You've got to show that you're willing to fight and face the big clubs from across MLS and represent the state.
Awesome. Next week, you'll hear from UConn legend and Connecticut Sun team president Jen Sanford. We sat down with her to discuss the team's relocation and zoom out on the growth of women's basketball as a whole. As far as the move to Houston goes, she says it hits home for her. Sanford is from Connecticut and has spent most of her professional life here.
For me, growing up in the state, having played at UConn and having the knowledge of what a team like this means to our fans made that ultimate decision really, really hard. I'm not sure everybody realizes that it's as emotional for me and my staff as it is for them as fans.
We got some fun basketball news, too. UConn and Duke are getting a rematch, and it's going to be in Vegas of this next season around Thanksgiving time. So that'll be very exciting because the hero of the Elite Eight, Braylon Mullins, he's also staying at UConn. We got to talk to him this week, so we'll have more on Mullins' 2nd year in stores and how he's embracing a potential leadership role as a sophomore. We'll hear from him next week as well.
A lot of clamoring about the home and home not being the deal there, but we don't have time to get into that. All we have time to do today is say goodbyes. Parting is such sweet sorrow, but we'll end up seeing you next week. I'm Sean Humphrey with Alexa Harley. We'll catch you later.